instructions that can be added to the resident and unit account pages that automatically populate in the notes. We're not going to go look at this because I don't think we'll have the time to look at it, but on the resident account page, unit account page, there's a work orders module that tracks all of the work orders that have ever been placed for that unit or that resident. There is a resident or unit instruction in that module, and that's where they're added in. For the unit, stays until you change it. Resident stays until they leave, or of course you change it. Now, something else that comes up once you choose that location is the show work orders link. This is all the work orders that have ever been placed for that location. So if it is, they called in and said, I have placed this 10 times. If it really has been entered into ResMan 10 times, you're going to see it right here. Then you have your areas. This areas is a pick list, so it is global, but you can make changes to it. It does have a default that's hanging out there if you've never touched it, but under admin and pick list, you can add new areas if need be. Areas is just going to be the location in the unit, and you can choose as many locations or areas in the unit that you need. Then you have inventory items. If we're tracking inventory items, which are tracked under property in inventory, if there's something assigned to the unit, that is going to come up in that inventory dropdown. If you choose an inventory item and nothing pops up over here to the right, that means it's not under warranty. If it is under warranty, you're going to see a little orange box that's going to populate, and it's going to tell you when that warranty expires. Received by, the person who's putting it in. Reported by is going to be the household. Somebody from that unit that called this work order in or came in and said this was what they needed. Appointment, schedule, if we're working on it. If we're not doing any schedule, then we can leave that blank. Phone number populates from the reported by. Animals also populate from the reported by. Now, one thing to know, the reported by is not required. You don't have to select anything. But if we do not select a reported by, then one, phone number, animals aren't going to populate for you. But two, if they're using the resident portal, the work order will not show on the resident portal because there's nobody to assign it to because you didn't choose that reported by. So if this is left blank, that's great. You don't have to, but it's just going to leave that off their portal, which also in turn leaves it off their account page too. Next is category. Kind of narrowing down what the work order is, and then finally a high-level description where we can put more of a description in the notes. So my high-level description can be whatever it needs to be, and then I can put some more details in that note. Now, with the resident and unit instructions that populated here, because they're on those account pages, I can take them out. They're just notes. I can update them, I can add to them, so they're not stuck in stone here. I can adjust as needed. Now, before we move on to what's below here, this area, not everything, but the majority of the things in this area are going to show in the online portal. So if the residents are logging in, looking at their work orders, they're going to see the majority of this. So that's also kind of with the notes, just kind of keep it something you would want your residents to see and not something that might make them angry. Then we have the assignment information. What maintenance team is going to be taking care of this? And we can choose whoever we need to. We can choose a status. Now, it's not started is the default, and we typically want to keep it there. Submitted is used for the online work orders. So that's the initial status when somebody goes in through the resident portal, puts in a work order, they submit it, it is in that submitted status. Submitted is what triggers the red notification number on work order. If I use submitted here, it's going to create that red notification number, even though it's not submitted online, because it's just using that status. So for anything that has been called in, that came in through the door, not started, is really kind of what you want to leave it as, unless you need to change it to in progress or scheduled or something like that. Then your priority. Right here, priority, you're going to see it, but you're not going to see any colors associating with it. When we get to the mobile work orders next, we're going to see those colors associating with it. If a vendor is involved with this work order, I can choose that vendor and then put in an estimated cost. That's it. It's not going anywhere beyond this. It's not creating an invoice. It's not doing anything beyond me just saying this vendor is going to be taking care of this work order. Then the completed information, which we're going to come back to. So now we've got some save options. We have save, which is just going to save this, give us a work order number. Save and copy, saves this work order, gives us a work order number, but then gives us a brand new work order with the same information. So if there is, let's say a resident broke their toilet, flooded the connecting units, you can save and copy, change the unit number, save and copy, change the unit number. Make them super quick to where you're not having to recreate the wheel for every one of those work orders. Save and new just brings you a new work order. We can enter in everything from scratch. Save and print in English and in Spanish. Spanish is Google Translate Spanish. And when you do print it in Spanish, it does give you English and Spanish at the same time. If you're not seeing this, it's a really quick and easy little integration to turn on so that you can see this, because I feel like you ladies have never seen this before.
I just always click save and print, and I never do that enough.
Yes, if there's a little arrow there, if you see just English, let us know, and then we can go in and turn on Spanish real quick. Okay, now once I save this, it's a saved work order, it's in the system, it has a work order number, and teams ready to do whatever they need to do. So now I'm going to navigate to property and work orders. So this is where all of your work orders are housed. This is where your make-ready board is housed. And I want to come here because I want to talk about a few things. One, your date range. Date range is the typical date range you see in ResMan. And that's a great date range, except for when it comes to work orders, sometimes it can cut off work orders. So if something's older than 420, you're not seeing it right now. So a quick little way to change this to get all of your open work orders, because by default this is open work orders, is go to all dates before and choose current day, then click go. And if I had anything older than the 20th of April, I would now see everything. So just a little tip with that, because you might be missing some work orders. Next, getting back into the work order, make changes, complete it, whatever. So you can click anywhere on a line for a work order, and it's going to bring you back. Anything can be changed. I can change date due, I can change the unit number or the location, I can change the category. Nothing is locked down. So if something was entered in by mistake, we can change it. I also have some email and print buttons up here, just FYI, if you haven't noticed those in the top right corner. And we're going to come down to the completion information. So within this completion information, there's a started date and time, completed date and time, and a completed by. Typically, we see just people using this completed date and time, which is great. It changes your status for you. It's done, put in a little bit more information. But if you add the started date and time as well, then some columns on a specific report will start filling out. So let me make this time make sense. So we're gonna look at that a little bit later. The notes aren't something the residents are gonna see unless you're printing this out after the fact and handing it to them after you put these notes in. So it's something they're not gonna typically see. Then you have the retention effort communication log entry. All that does is goes to the communication log for the household, and it says this work order was done in an effort to retain them. So that way you can see all of that in one spot. The add repair upgrade record for this work order, that goes to the unit account page, and that adds a record in the repair upgrades module for any major repair or any upgrade to the unit. So you can easily track those. Now, if this is clicked on, it does open up a whole new section. If we click on this and then uncheck it, then it does think it's still there and still needs some required fields, and so it won't let me save right now. So only choose this if you are really going to enter in that information, because as you can see, it's thinking that still should be entered even though I unchecked it. So just FYI, I'm going to choose something really quickly and save this. Okay, now that it's saved, it's done. Work order is completed, we've got it in, it's been completed, and we can continue on with anything else. Now, there is a few things here on the work orders landing page. Once you choose any, there is a bulk update. The bulk update will allow you to change the status, schedule, date and time, started, completed, uncompleted by end notes for everything you selected. Your completed date and time, though, will be the same completed date and time across the board. So if they need to be different, definitely not something what you want to use, but if that completed date and time doesn't matter, great way to complete out a bunch of work orders at once. There's also a process incomplete work orders. This will take you work order by work order by work order. So it brings up my first one. I can make changes, complete it, whatever I need to. Once I hit save, it's taking me to my next one. So if I do need to complete a bunch out at once, but I need to have those individualized information, this will take me through all of them. Okay, that's entering the work orders. Our next thing is the mobile work order site. So I'm not going to go back to the PowerPoint just yet, but we're going to dive into the mobile work order site. Now, how this works is on a cellular device or a tablet, a mobile device. When you log into ResMan, it's going to give you the option, full site, mobile work order site. What we see right now is full site. You can see this on your tiny phones. It is hard to do, but you can do it. If you choose mobile work order site, I'm under tools right now. There is mobile work orders. This is what that's going to look like. So you can view mobile work orders from a computer or a laptop as well. Just goes about a different way. So now what we see here is just work orders. We don't have all the other stuff. It's easily manageable. It is mobile friendly. So now I can see my colors over here that I'm hoping you guys can see too. I've got some yellow, some green, some red. Those are my priorities. Red priority is high, yellow priority is medium, green priority is low. Now from here I can do a lot of different things. Plus sign, bottom right corner, brand new work order. So if I'm in a unit, even as an on-site team member or maintenance team member, I can use that to create a new work order very quickly. The hamburger or the 3 lines in the top left corner, this allows me to filter some things. So first I have my properties. What properties do I need to be seeing? Then I can choose my statuses, and I can even go back to the full site if I need to. Now another thing I can do is my filter in the top right-hand corner. This allows me to say, I just want to see my work orders. This limits the work orders to things I have been assigned. Then I can sort by work order number, when it was reported, when it's due, the priorities, the properties. I can even say I want to see non-make ready and make ready work orders. So the make ready board does create make ready work orders. So that's why you see these here, but we can filter those out so we're looking at specific work orders. Now once I click done, it's going to refresh and change up what I was looking at. Now when I go into a work order, it is simply touching or clicking that work order line and it gives me all my details. Now from here I can't change anything besides, no I can't change anything, but if I click the edit in the top right, I can change everything. So if it's unit, if I need to add notes, and my favorite, if I need to add pictures. So if I need to add pictures, as the maintenance team member in the unit, I can take my phone and take pictures and add it to the work order as I'm doing it. So then, for the on-site team, the office team, we'll look at how you can see those in just a minute. But it is simply add file. Because of how I'm doing this, it's going to bring this up. But in your phone, you're going to have your option like typical camera roll or actual camera. So they can choose however they want to do it. Then once they save this, work order's updated. If it was completed out, then it's a completed out work order. And you're going to see these in the full site right away. So it's going to be just as if it was happening in the full site. Now, if I go back to the full site really quickly and go to a work order, and of course I don't have any pictures attached to anything, but your pictures would be in the documents module of that work order. So if anybody's taking pictures, be it office staff, maintenance staff, the documents module is where that's going to be held. So then it stays there, stays with the work order, and everybody can see it who has access. Let me get back to the mobile work order site really quickly, because there's one more thing I want to show everybody. So again, when you're in here, you have everything you would have in the full site. Just much more mobile friendly version of it. So then when it comes to completing it, if it is, we want to complete it as we're leaving the unit or before we leave the unit, the completion information of the started, completed, completed by, and notes is down here at the very bottom. Enter in that information, save it, and it's done. And we're on to the next unit, whatever that might be. Okay. Before we move on into the make ready board, that's what I wanted. Does anybody have any questions so far? It's pretty simple, there's not much to it. Just what
or you're doing an amazing job.
Is there any like plans how an actual app for this section?
To my knowledge, no. So the question was, is there any app for this in the future? So to my knowledge, no, but that doesn't mean that's not in the future.
Because I've been in ResMan for almost 10 years, 6 years, and I've been waiting for this app because it's not really that app friendly. I mean, cellular friendly.
It's more cellular friendly than the full site.
For sure. For sure. But when you have like a tech and field, I mean, I have all my team working with cell phones, and it's not very friendly. I mean, it's hard to manipulate. It's not an app.
Yeah, it's fair. It's not. So it doesn't operate like an app would. But we can definitely put that in. And again, it's very possible it's in the works. And
it's not in the works yet.
They keep those things from me because I talk. I say things I shouldn't say. Okay. So now let's talk about the make ready board. Your make ready board is set up in the property settings. So I'm not going to go there, but it would be admin of properties. And then you choose your property and its maintenance. So every property is going to have or can have its own make ready board. So each of the columns, everything is customizable to what the property needs. So once you're at property and work orders, then you're going to go to the make ready board item on your green menu. This is going to be your entire make ready board. Now I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom. I don't think I have anything here right now. I do, perfect. So depending on how you add them, sorry, there's a bug in front of my face, is going to come into the future or vacant. Future is going to be, we put in the notice, we have the make ready work orders creating at the time of notice, so they're near the future area, where it's going to give you the move out date, move in if it is pre-leased, and then when it's going to be available. Now the top section is going to be your vacant. So if we don't have things posting at the time of notice, they're going to post at the time of move out. If you have your make ready board set up. Of course, if there's no work orders created for the make ready board, nothing's going to be here. It's just it can't create anything it doesn't know what to create. So what I have here is my property and my color code of what the colors mean down below in the actual board. I'll have my unit number, move-in date if the unit is leased, the available date that we'll talk more about in just a moment, and then my different columns. And I have these two columns that are not grayed out. These two columns are the defaulted make ready work orders, which is ResMan's going to create those unless you tell ResMan not to create those. The gray is the non-defaulted make ready work orders. So just the same. It's not going to create unless you tell ResMan to create it. It can be created at notice, it can be created at move out, it can also be created right here. So I can simply click in that box, just clicked in that gray space. It's asking me, do I want to create a work order for this unit? Sure do, hit yes, and now it's there. And I can manage it just like everything else. Let's navigate back to this available date. So when you set up your make ready board, there is a date ready, it is what it's called, that you have to put in for each one. So the same number of days needs to be put into each one of them. So if your typical turn is 7 days, that days until ready or days until due is what it is. The days until due all need to be 7. That way, the day after they move out, it's going to calculate those 7 days and plug in that date here. With permissions, you can click into this date and change it. So if this really is going to be ready, next week or later on this week, I can enter in that date, click OK, and now it's updating there. It's updating my availability. It's updating everywhere else the available date appears. Now, one real quick thing on this, and I have to mention this because we've had people do this. There is a red X that is going to appear in every one of these units if you hover over the unit number. You can easily remove and cancel that unit from the Make Ready board. So if I hit yes, I'm want to cancel this out. That unit's gone. Those work orders are gone. They're canceled out like they didn't exist, and it's no longer on the board, which then causes problems if it's truly, of course, a vacant unit. Now, if this happens, or for any new property that's coming on board with current vacant units, the add button that's beneath the vacant area, but maybe above the future if you have the future area, that add button will allow you to bring it back. So you can type in any unit number, select it, I don't even know if that's the right one, click OK, and it's going to add that unit back to the Make Ready board if it's a vacant unit, if it's occupied, it won't. Okay, so now how to manage all of this. So managing these is incredibly simple, and it's simply clicking into that box for the Make Ready column. So whatever unit you need in that column is going to bring up this update status box. This box is going to allow you to say what maintenance personnel it's assigned to, what vendor it may be assigned to. So if I'm going to put a carpet vendor in here, I can choose that, and then it's going to change the name on the view of my Make Ready board. My schedule here is what is controlling those, not my schedule, excuse me, my status here is what is controlling those numbers or those colors. So if I leave this and, let's say I leave this as not started. Let's take this completed date and time out, but maybe I put in a scheduled date. So I've got a date that it's scheduled for, but my status still says not started. If I do that, it's going to update, but it's going to keep that color of the black font because that is my not started font. Unless I change that status to whatever status I need, that color is not going to change. So I can put in all kinds of details. Also with that, if I don't change it to completed, it's not going to give me that option to complete my Make Ready. So now if I do add this, change this to completed, put in a completed date and time, and click OK, that is, it didn't give me what I wanted, so let me do another one and see if it will. That one probably is made ready already on the unit side, because it shouldn't be. There we go. So once you have completed and have changed that status to completed for every work order that is in your Make Ready board for that unit, you're going to see this pop up. Do we want to make this unit ready is essentially what it says. So I could say no, it's going to just keep it on the Make Ready board. If I say make unit ready, it's removing it from the board because it's considered ready now, and the status has changed. The status everywhere has changed to ready. So it's now a ready available unit. But let's say something happens. Windows left open, it floods. AC unit leaks, it floods. Something like that happens to where you have to take it off the market because work needs to be done. That is what this show ready units and the vacant units, right next to vacant units, is for. So if I choose show ready units, as you can see, it brings every unit I have available that is marked ready. So my list just got even longer than what it already was. All I have to do is click into any one of those work orders, doesn't matter which one, change that status to anything but completed, and click OK. Now it still held that completed date because it's in that completed date and time, but if I uncheck that show ready units, it is now no longer ready. So it went back to that unit and changed that status to be not ready. So then, of course, that's updating on your availability, and everywhere else you would have your availability that you might be using. Now, next thing that's on here is your move-ins tab. So this is also something not a lot of people see, not a lot of people use, but what this is built out for is to say, we have received that move-in inventory from this resident. So back or front and back legal page of the checklist of things are great, grand, and wonderful in the unit. That's what this is to say, yep, they brought it in. So if they did, I can come here, click in that the column, this rectangle under movement inventory received on the household I need to, click it, I get a green check mark, it disappears. And do it again, then we can just see that green check mark and the whole line disappears. And what this is doing is this is going to the communications log and saying, yes, they brought in their movement inventory. Now, this doesn't bring in a copy of it for you, but it just says that yes, they did. So then, of course, someone will scan that and attach it to their account page. But also what you can do if they didn't bring it in, or if they didn't bring it in the time that you allot them, you can hover over that unit, use that red X, just as you want to remove them, we do, and now they're no longer part of that list. So you can have full control of this of yes, they did, no, they didn't. Final thing is this notice to vacate. So the notice to vacate tab is going to just show you your notices and your pre-leases and how many days in between that you have to get the unit ready. So a good little planning tool here that you may have not known existed. Okay. Any questions on the Make Ready board? How to utilize it, where it's set up at, anything like that? Okay, the last few things, reports, and I'm actually going to get the slide back up for this, the border modules. And let me get through a few things here because I'm just going to come back to this. Okay. First thing is the maintenance summary bordering module. So there are 3 bordering modules for maintenance. This is going to be the first one. And the far image is going to be what it's like when you first open it up. So it's just a high level, how many work orders you have that are in what status. And then also how many vacant units you have, how many are ready, how many are not ready. What we see on this closer one to me, on the right one, is if I click on the property line. So then that's going to bring me all of my work orders that are open in the not started status, in the scheduled status, in the in progress status. And they're blue links so I can go to those work orders to then make changes or close them out depending on what needs to happen. What this will also show me if I were to scroll down a little further is it's going to be all of your vacant units. So if you're not utilizing your Make Ready board, you could use those to get to the unit account page very quickly and then use that Make Unit Ready link to make that unit ready if need be. Then there is this maintenance employee summary. The maintenance employee summary gives you really just kind of that same thing we were looking at, but who is assigned to who. So still, how many are not started, how many are scheduled, how many are in progress, but it's breaking it out to the maintenance team. So how many have been assigned to them? Of those, how many have gotten started? How many are scheduled and how many are in progress? So the first view is prior to clicking on the property line. So it's just going to give you high level, how many are open, how many are overdue. And overdue is going to be it's past that due date. Then when you click on it, of course you get the actual employees and that extra detail. This next one and the final bordering module is your maintenance stats. So your maintenance stats, what I have, the 8, 24, 48, 72, those are customizable in your bordering module settings, in your global settings. So I change it once, it's changing across my board, but these are hours. And so this is showing me one reported is how many work orders have been reported so far in this month. Those hours is then how quickly were they closed. So then you can choose, do we want something similar to what we have here, or do we want 24, 48, 72, something like that, and go up a little higher, depending on your property needs. So this will show you your count and your percentage. There's also a report named maintenance stats that shows you your count and percentage at once. So just same thing, just you don't toggle back and forth between the count and the percentage. The reports. So this is, you know what? we're not going to do the reports this way. We're going to do the reports in a database because I want to show a few things with these. So one, the make ready statistics. So this may take me a minute to get the right date range to have enough things in here to kind of really make sense. There we go. Okay. So in this, and I'm just going to leave it how it is, there is your 3-day make ready and your make ready over 10 days. This is also a global setting. So the 3 and the 10 is your decision. In globally, so it's going to change one for all. But what this is how many make readies were done in 3 days or less for this one particular. This one is how many were done in 11 days or more. So it's over the 10 days. So this does not count every make ready that was completed or done or even worked on in this time frame if we have the dates separated like this. If you want to have that total together, it needs to be, if it's a 7-day term, 7 days and 7 days. That way you're looking at up to 7 days and then 8 days and over. So then you see everything because it's not giving you that gap. Now another one, and this one is going to be why I put in the started date and time on the work order, is this work order employee summary. The work order employee summary, not this one. This is not. Hang on one second. Hang on. Now I'm completely, that's the one. It's the work order employee summary that I want. It's not the work order summary. Here we go. Okay. So this one is a very short report because it's just going to have your team. And it really expands off that boardroom module, the work order employee summary. But it gives you your assigned to, so how many were assigned to those employees, what's in what status, the oldest not completed. But then it gets into a little bit of more information. The work done by. This means they were assigned the work order and then they completed the work order. So it doesn't always happen, but just some good information to have. Then percent completed before the due date. So just a good little piece of information. And then these last two columns. Average days to complete, average time for a work order. They are blank on John Manager and Mark Maintenance because we just put a completed date and time in. Because on that one work order I did, I put that started date and time in, it is going to give me that average days and average time to complete a work order. So without that, of course, it can't calculate it. So those, if you ever see these blank, that's why. It's because we're not using a started date and time. But if you do start using that, you're going to get some really great information on how long it's taking to complete the work order. Okay. Let's see if there's other reports that we want to take a look at. Okay, no, that is everything that I have for you guys today. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find a report that pulled just for work order for just one resident.
Over just a resident?
Just for one resident, not for the whole unit.
Oh, okay, hang on.
But see, I went to the resident and then I have to pull them individually and save them individually, and I don't want that.
Right. So by location, it is going to pull. So you could do work orders by location, then it's going to pull all of your units.
Right. You do date range. You do date range. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could do date range, but still it's going to pull all residents in that date range.
That's what I want it, yeah.
Just that one? Yeah. I don't think we have a report that would do that.
And I didn't think you did, but I just wanted to show you.
Yeah, no, because it's either that or by the category, and it's...
Because I need it. I'll add it to the like legal pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. CTO just left a little bit ago. We could have got him nailed down.
I'm keeping that stuff, so
Thank you. Other questions, guys? I know maintenance and work orders is a really simple section of the ResMan, but there's so many little pieces to it. There's many little nuances that not everybody gets to see or use. We wanted to make sure we showcased it pretty well today.
Great, Lauren.
Do you have any questions?
Any more questions?
Roy Bar is,
Yeah, the Roy Bar is open till 5.
yes.
And we can give you 10 minutes back to your day if everybody's good. And I did, would you? if
Yes,
it's just so that they can see a visual and listen to you talk at the same time, but don't forget our opening reception on the pool deck. We're gonna have food and cocktails and mocktails all from 6 to 9. So, wear something cool. It's gonna be hot. But it's a great time. And thank you guys very much for coming today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody.